I'm gonna take you guys on a trip, but this trip has no destination. And the only answers you're about to find are just more questions.
Dancing is the truest form of expression. No words, no common language. Just a conversation between rotating joints. Like the oil to the tin pan, the essence of ourselves begins to ooze. We are free.
No one lives without a heart.
But I think what if is kind of like my go-to question about everything. Like, what if we do this? And what if we do that? And then I started writing one night. I get awoken like at 4 a.m. usually to write. I try to listen to that voice. And that piece of what if came about, like, what if? What if a piano called? What if you answered it? What if you said, yes, please? What if I did something, and then what if my reflection of myself, my public version of self did that? And if my public version of self did that, could I create change, authentic change? And what would that look like?
As a culture, we hype up these imaginary stories that we see in movies and on TV, and we become so consumed by them, but like we're not taking the time to really just ask the person standing next to us, like, you know, what's your story?
I think that's kind of where the process started coming in, is like, okay, if I showed myself, Susie, to the world in a way that was personal and revealing and process oriented and not perfect hair, perfect makeup, what would that look like? And would that allow people to see the imperfection of process in my business and also in acting and getting cast as in commercial stuff, that it's all about the final product and what that looks like. But in that, and celebrating that and retouching that and making that perfect, we don't have any understanding or interest in process. And I'm just like fascinated by that.
We started asking questions like, why is theater, like kind of breaking down what theater is and what a performance is and what an artist is, and why don't we just show the behind the scenes, like show, and not just behind the scenes like you typically think, but as in theater, like why not show the process, like a painter painting, an actor rehearsing, and not having a polished piece.
You know, when those doors are still open, when it becomes a product and you start shutting down the walls, then that's another time. I look back and I realize that the camera to me has been a mirror. It's allowed me to look at myself and analyze myself as a diagnostic person. If you're talking to the camera as yourself, I think it reflects faster. Like the truth comes back to you faster and the bullshit comes back to you faster.
Right?
Yeah.
I know.
It's really intrusive.
It is really intrusive. But it's because it's looking, there's something about the camera doing something with your eye. I don't know what it is, but it goes right to the soul.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Fuck. I'm lost. I've gone missing and only one person other than me knows it happened. One person other than me knows that it happened. He hasn't reported it. He never told anyone. But how can I blame him? I mean, if you
For us in that piece, what I think it did is it pulled away the performance-y side of it. We were allowed to be kind of like acting for film, which was nice, which is different from acting on a stage for an audience that's already 15 feet away.
Sort of felt like I just had like an eyeball just like looking right through me. It was definitely like having a lie detector right there, and I could, every minute that I knew was dishonest, it was immediately like it shot right back at me like, oh, I have to take that back and try again. I'll never forget that. The way it sounded like an empty conch shell against my ear.
We didn't really have strict rules as to how we were going to use the video or the camera, but it just came together with each performance. It wasn't weird, but it was, because I've been in lots of plays where they break the fourth wall or we have an address to the audience and things like that, so I was used to that. But to have the camera, Yeah, it was another character. It really was another character. So it's like you could have, like, sometimes I used it as me addressing, like, if I was with a person, or maybe the person I was speaking to in my piece, or it became an outside element of society looking at you constantly, you know? So it became different things with every show. So it was very interesting to see the evolution of who or what was the camera. Like, we all had a relationship to the camera, and I think it evolved with each show.
We don't control any of it. The spinning, the racing, the aloneness, it just happens. And we either react to it or we call it our choice.
We used live performance because I think as actors that were trained this way, there's a high that you get from a live audience, but also knowing that not everybody was going to come see it, and that there's another dimension to our world right now where everybody likes to take these selfies. Everybody likes to watch what we're doing. So it was cool. I don't know if we created reality theater or what we did, but I think we did something, and I really want to play a lot more in that process of creating a piece that's not done, that's process oriented, and that has a lot of different ways to come in. Film, live performance, writing, sound, music, art, all of it.
All the other artists people just started to want to collaborate with it. And it was pretty cool to see everybody come together and make it their own. Because really this piece every night was different. And every night was a crazy experience. We had no rehearsals. We had maybe like one rehearsal just to like kind of do like the through line and like from start to finish, like the journey we wanted to take. And then we just let it go. So we just jumped, and people received it well, and it was a very interesting experience. So I think it was different for everybody what it was.
So even though the piece was actually scripted, every time a new audience came in, we had a totally different show, because our reaction with the audience created the next moment and created the next beat. So like as an actor, you go through and you're like, we had to hit this mark and this mark and this mark. And when you're on camera, you hit this mark and this mark and that angle. But in this piece, it was, here's how we're starting, and let's just see where it goes. And we had to react to the situation of the camera, of the people, of the reaction or non-reaction, of people walking in, of people walking out. And then learning that that was actually part of the process of being present in the moment.
That shared theater, I felt in such a unique way. Like that really, it kind of took all the walls down, exposed everything, and gave you as an audience member the ability to walk in and out as you pleased. And I felt like there was so much more respect in the room, if that makes sense. So my experience over the nine performances was just that every night the piece evolved because we had different people and they were available in different ways. And as I would look out into the audience and just connect with the person and try to tell them my story, because thankfully these were, my words, and I was able to share from my heart. As I looked out and connected with them, I was getting almost answers back. I was getting, I could find out just by looking at a person how available they were to that moment or how much they connected to what exactly I was saying. And it was beautiful to like feel like I could lose them and then win them back in a moment.
I think the final time, which was 9 times, so each time was totally different. We changed according to reaction every night. Every piece was changed because the reaction, but then we also stepped back, observed, and was like, I don't know if that back room over there worked well. Let's move the DJ out. Ooh, I don't know if the lights being on when we were talking about dancing in the room works. Let's turn them off. Oh, maybe her pole, which is what I was trying to get the whole time, that could be her pole. Oh, and maybe the reflection, people can see the reflection. So each time we were all given the opportunity to say what we think could make it better and then move towards that, rather than, no, that's already set.
I feel like it was a lot about telling stories, and even though a lot of it sparked from maybe experiences Susie had, but it was really experiences that we've all had.
There's no stage, there's no props, it's not like, there's no noise, it's just me and you sitting here, and I'm just trying to tell you how I feel right now, and to give not only myself the opportunity to speak, but them the opportunity to listen and to share that moment with me was just, for me, magical.
There was so much things that we did that are a part of this piece that to say it's one thing is really difficult.
A combination of improv and script, and then also of waiting tables. Because it was like, you have to hear what they want, and you have to give them something that they can digest.
With the actors
expression. No words, no common language. Just the conversation between rotating joints.